So we are back to James Beard's words, true 60 years ago and true today. If we really believe in food, we must do something about it and raise our voices above the rest. Because if not us, then who? It's my pleasure now to introduce our first award presenter this evening. She received the Leadership Award back in 2012 in recognition of her service as the U.S. Deputy Secretary and Chief Operating Officer of the USDA. She was an architect of the successful Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative and First Lady Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign. She also made history as the first woman to chair the Ministerial Conference of Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Time magazine recognized her as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Today, she is a professor and executive director of sustainability at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Please welcome Kathleen Merrigan.
What a lovely evening. So who's that man behind the curtain? Who's that man behind the curtain? I wonder. Fred Kirschman? Deb Eschmeyer? Ricardo Salvador, you're here somewhere, Ricardo, I know you are. Dear departed Gus Schumacher, likely others, and most certainly me. We know who the man is. We wouldn't have had the honor and joy to cross the stage and receive the James Beard Leadership Award had it not been for our man behind the curtain, federal policy wizard Ferd Hoefner. Everyone I know depends on Ferd for help, from the most seasoned journalists, right, Jerry? And Hill staffers, to freshly minted college grads hoping to change the world. And he is always there to patiently counsel us. He does so with kindness. Ferd is the most selfless person I know. I first met Ferd 30 years ago. He came knocking on my door when I was a Senate staffer, asking for help establishing the SARE program. In my first Farm Bill in 1990, Ferd seemed to be there day and night. He was there day and night. And together we put into law the definition of sustainable agriculture that has stood the test of time. This was a big deal for me, and for Ferd too, although he has written countless laws over his 4 decades of work, all dedicated to helping the collective of organizations seeking social justice, equity, and sustainability. He's always standing up for the little guy. By the way, Ferd's so much behind the scenes that it pains me to tell you that he's probably been called Fred just as often as Ferd. So I'm grateful tonight to have the opportunity to spread the word about this marvelous man and celebrate his many achievements. Nathan and Dietrich, I know you, where's table number 1? Okay, Ferd's sons, thanks for sharing your dad with us. Diane Kern, your husband is a gift, and I know the countless long nights on Capitol Hill haven't been easy, so we honor you and thank you too. Ladies and gentlemen, if you value up-to-the-minute intelligence of what's going on in DC, if you're a young person seeking a mentor, if you wonder if there's anyone left in our capital who is humble, honest, and true, this is your man. Let's roll the video.
Thank you, Kathleen, for those very kind words. I've had the pleasure of working with Kathleen for 30 years now. First, I lobbied her, then we shared offices together, then I found internships for her students, and then supported her mighty efforts as Deputy Secretary at USDA. She's a really awesome leader, and I couldn't have asked for a better introducer. I also want to thank the James Beard Foundation for this award, but also for your terrific support for the Good Food movement. And also all my fellow honorees, what a truly humbling experience to stand here with these movers and shakers for food and farm justice. I want to thank my family with me tonight, my wife Diane and sons Nathan and Dietrich, for all your support over these many, many years. And you know, as a lobbyist, I would be remiss if I didn't mention our many congressional champions without whom we would have gotten nowhere. And I'm smart enough to know to not start naming them because I'll leave many people out. But just a very brief word about, I think, my number one heroes, and that's the practitioners of sustainable agriculture in the field, the farmers and the ranchers who have been driving innovation and good land stewardship for decades. They are truly my inspiration. That is what keeps me going, fighting the battles on Capitol Hill and at the hallways of the Department of Agriculture. The National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition is now entering its 4th decade of building power and coalescing over 120 organizations at the regional and local level who join together with a commitment to working on new federal policies and programs to transform our farm and food system. And those grassroots activists and advocates who volunteered their time are really the critical linchpin of the movement and of our efforts. Without their commitment, those of us who are lucky enough to represent them in Washington, D.C., would not have achieved all that we've been able to do. At the National Sustainable Ag Coalition, I think of us as translators. We take the ideas that are bubbling up in the countryside, figure out what's in the ballpark of political possibility at any given point in time, put those ideas into legislation, and then fight and win those policy changes, thereby enlarging the size of the ballpark of what's politically possible, changing the terms and the narrative of the debate, and then beginning the cycle again, building on those wins that we've already won. When we started 30 years ago, there was no federal farm bill support for working lands conservation. There was no federal support for young and beginning farmers. There was no recognition, much less support for local and regional food systems. There was no backing for organic agriculture and no federal research into sustainable agriculture and food systems. Through NSAC, we have put all those things on the map with a multitude of policies and programs that now amount to several $billion in federal resources each year. So on behalf of all the farmers and all the very good people in the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition family and all of our partners and friends, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for this recognition tonight. Thank you so much.